My name is Glenn Hodgins. I'm the President and CEO of the Canadian Music Centre. Our mission is to be the catalyst that connects you to an ever-evolving world of musical creation in Canada through creation, performance, education, and promotion. I'm very happy that you're able to join us tonight for this virtual event celebrating the launch of Alexina Louie's Take the DOG SLED, which was released on our label Centre Discs earlier this month. Thank you for being here. It's my pleasure now to introduce Nicole Blanc, the director of Centre Discs.
Thank you, Glenn. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this virtual album launch for Take the DOG SLED by composer Alexina Louie. My name is Nicole Blaine, and I am the Director of Library Services and Centre Discs here at the Canadian Music Centre. I'm thrilled that you can join us tonight, whether you're watching live or watching later on demand. I had the great pleasure to work with award-winning composer Alexina Louie and Esprit Orchestra. They worked together with Inuit throat singers Evie Mark and Akinisie Sivuarapik on this beautiful, gorgeous project. It's whimsical, it's fun. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's take a look at how this project began. Here's a conversation between Alexina and Evie about this very unique project.
I'm Alexina Louie, composer of Take the DOG SLED, the piece that's going to be released on CD. And this is the fabulous throat singer, Evie Mark. Hi, Evie.
Hi.
My goodness, Evie, after all of these years, the piece was written in 2008. We have it being released on a CD. Isn't that fantastic? It will be there for so many more people to enjoy. When I think back at that time, you know, I know from my end that the Montreal Symphony Orchestra and Kent Nagano actually contacted me to see if I'd be interested in doing this piece for throat singers and ensemble. But I never known from your end, how did you get contacted? How did you get brought into this project?
So OSM contacted Avadak Cultural Institute, which is an Inuit organization that preserve Inuit culture, languages, material, and so on. And they initially contacted Avadak, and Avadak contacted me back in 2007, about there, 2007, 2008.
Yeah, that was about the time I was asked as well. I mean, how did you feel about this project when they talked about it? Because the piece was going to be performed in Nunavik, where you come from originally. I mean, how did you feel about going up there with the Montreal Symphony and singing with the symphony? And when we first talked, you said you had never sung with an orchestra before. How was that for you?
Looking back, I was pretty nervous for sure. I was 10 years younger too, and a young mother at the time, and had some pretty neat insecurities, I think you can say. Kind of afraid to do a big show with an orchestra, and thinking maybe I cannot do it, or because it's never really been done before like that. And also afraid of my elders from Nunavik, thinking like, am I doing a mistake by doing a big show with an orchestra, adapting my culture and throat singing, which is like very, to me, ancient form of singing. And so I had some bittersweet feelings about the joining in with the orchestra.
Well, that's really interesting, because from my end, when they asked me, and you know, as I told you before, I had loved throat singing ever since I was a student. I listened to recordings of throat singing and just thought it was such amazing music. But when I was asked to combine throat singing with Western instruments, I really thought, how can I do this and do honor to both traditions? So before you and I even spoke, I had to work out for myself, this kind of trepidation that I also had. It's interesting to hear that you also had trepidations about taking on this project. And of course, from my point of view, if I took your beautiful throat songs and made them seem smaller than they are, I would have been doing something really disrespectful. And so to find out how to use the throat singing to respect both your tradition and the Western tradition and not make it into some, simplistic piece of music. Well, as I told you, well, once I accepted it, and I was so nervous, and my husband, Alex, I said to Alex, oh, I don't think I can accept this commission. I don't know if I can actually do this. And he said, how can you not do it? You'll be working with throat singers and you love throat singing. You just have to find a way to do it. Mm-hmm. So then that's when we started to talk through email and on the phone, because the Montreal Symphony Orchestra sent me some recordings of throat singing, and they sent me a demo recording that you had made. Mm-hmm. And so I listened to this demo recording, which had 6 songs on it. And I listened and I was in awe, but it was a demo recording that you were doing maybe in your apartment. And so you were talking with the other throat singer in Inuktitut. And of course, I had no idea what you were saying. And then you guys would sort of rev into the throat singing together, and then get really going. And then afterwards, you would start giggling. So this happened for the 6 songs. And well, that was in, 2007, 2008. And just within the last few months, you told me that it was actually Akinisie that was singing on that demo tape with you. And I had no idea. And of course, Akinisie has been your partner singing this piece in Switzerland and Yellowknife and Vancouver and Montreal. So it just was so much fun to learn after all this time that was actually Akinisie who was on that recording. So I had to listen to that tape over and over again for 2 months. And I listened to it in my car, I listened to it at home, and my family listened to you singing when we had our dinner, because I had to get into the spirit of throat singing. So finally, one day it just hit me. It just dawned on me how to do this piece. But it took me 2 months of listening and not writing anything. So that was one of those moments when the light comes on. After 2 months, it sort of just suddenly appeared. What did you think? Did you have any expectations as to what my piece would be? How you would?
No, I wasn't very familiarized. I wasn't very familiar with classical music. Like, I've heard it on movies, and my grandfather, who's Scottish, listened to Beethoven a lot, and that was as much experience that I had listening to classical music. So I was like, just sort of, I hope we can do this. I don't know how to read music. I don't know how to read the conductor. So I just had so much doubt as to how I would incorporate my traditional singing to a very well-known piece of music that everybody knows that I'm not familiar with.
The fantastic thing about this project was that Katerina Sukup was producing this film
Mm-hmm.
about the tour up north, and she captured on film the first time you and Takalik, who was the throat singer at that premiere, first heard the music, or when we were first together. I only had it on a piano score, and she captured that moment when I was trying to teach you where you were going to come in and how you were going to work with the ensemble. And that was so much fun. It's so much fun to have that on a film.
Okay? Can you hear what you're doing and what the orchestra is doing? The music that I've written around your voices works with the pitches that you sing.
I have no problem with the pitches.
Good. Okay, so you're just worried about how to get in.
No.
No, you're not even worried about that. Good.
I'm just worried about, I hope I don't mess it up.
Oh, you
because
won't
I've
mess it
never done it with an orchestra ever before.
Oh, really? Oh, I thought you had. Okay,
I
so.
have no doubt that it's quite nice.
Yes.
What I'm concerned about is just doing it right when I'm cued.
Oh, I don't think there's a problem because everybody stops for you. The whole orchestra stops.
Okay.
With the orchestra.
You know what would have been really, 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 really fun?
What?
Is to have the orchestra and the throat singers compete, because throat singing is a competition.
Right.
It's a way to play a
Right.
game or
Right.
well, they say a long time ago that it was used to gamble. It was a way of gambling.
Oh, so when you won something, did you?
A man, a needle, a
Oh.
sewing kit, material, maybe already, whatever the price
Right.
is.
Wow.
Even a
Oh.
man, even a man.
This is wonderful.
Simavunga. Itualugok ituangak amalu nulenga tapaunga hakalelok simavo. Tapani lagamilu tukidak sutik silak tulema mitako matsuting. Akvitel lagamikat sakatalatuk inyunik atiging itumagalni. Ingi gusta hataslu nutane. Tema nunaliminut utlatlok simvo. Utiraming tapvago atninga paningilu. Itunak sa magalulaktuk atatakumenin. Nersuo mo tikita makait tumakarun tikilokun. Upit na kani makafisa tiyaraloman. Tusak na yakta sigata amisut tiyaralun upat tolok mayukun.
Thank you very much for this concert. I've been on tours all over the world, and I've never been welcomed with a concert before. And I don't think my friends in the OSM have been welcomed either. This is a very special treat that's happened to us for the first time, so we all would like to thank you very much.
it was quite a journey for me. Younger mother, not younger mother, trying to find her place in society, and then all of a sudden joining this amazing like project that I really didn't know how I was going to fit in there. I was kind of inexperienced in doing big shows, big concerts, and
But there,
so I was very, very nervous.
it felt like fun. I mean, you might have been a bit nervous, and you did say that you were nervous about could you follow Kent Nagano?
Yes. I think I was just constantly nervous. The first practices, the first shows.
And when you heard it that time, when I first played it for you, it must have sounded so new and unusual, right?
Yeah, it was. I had to train my ear to listen to the changes in the music. I really had to learn. It was a learning process for me too, to incorporate. Yeah,
a learning process for me as well.
Yeah, it was something that I've never done. I mean, for sure, I've performed with other cultural pieces, like Brazilian musical instruments, or Australian musical instruments. But other than that, I've never performed with like many orchestra professional musicians, and so I was pretty nervous. I had to get comfortable with my new spot, and to try to not look so insecure, having to face Kent Nagano that I never knew existed until the Take the Dog Sled was introduced. So, and meeting him for the first time was pretty scary. Not scary, but intimidating. And so I just wanted to listen to commands. Just command, and I will do.
That's so much fun to hear it from your end.
Yeah.
Because as I said, I was really nervous about using these beautiful throat songs and weaving them together with Western music and making something that was a special combination of two things rather than having one thing overpowering another.
Yeah, I had some feelings, different feelings about that too, like on both sides. Like I was really close to my grandfather, John Dewar, and I spent a lot of time with him, and he used to love listening to Beethoven and other classical pieces. And so I knew it was a very honored type of music, kind of like a different genre of music that was very respected. And at the same time too, our traditional throat singing, it went through a lot of colonization, and it almost died. And luckily, it was revitalized back in the 70s. And it wasn't so popular for a while. It was unique. And I think that I really wanted to honor both ends, and to be sure, and like I just wanted to ensure that like I'm not dishonoring anybody, and I just didn't want to make any mistakes. I was so afraid to make mistakes. I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure that I honored both cultures that I have.
Yeah.
And it was a challenge. And I think, but for the first time, I heard the piece like truly after we did the recording in Toronto. And for the first time, I was like, oh, I get it now, because it's kind of hard to listen to it when you're actually performing.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So stepping out of it and listening to the music, I had I was like, oh, I get it now. I see the math now. Now I can see where they both intertwine and where they become one. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty impressive. So I was pretty happy to see and to hear the piece.
Right. And you know, to have it available on CD, I think is really important. To have you know, a record of what the piece is, because it's a unique combination of your throat songs and the, you know, typical instruments that you find in an orchestra. And who knows how many times, because it's not so easy to bring two throat singers together with the ensemble, with enough time to rehearse together. And I was afraid that my piece wouldn't go on to be remembered. But now with the CD, you know, what we've done together, there's a record of our work together. And I think that that's really valuable. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy with the piece. And I remember, I don't know what you thought about me when I first started writing the piece, and I pestered you so much, right? I wanted you to tell me everything about throat singing, and you told me about stories about your culture, and you told me about the dog sleds, and you sent me a video of an elder who was a doll maker, and I asked you to tell me legends, Inuit legends, because at the beginning I didn't know how I was going to wrap this, you know, together. And I thought, well, maybe I could use a legend and tell a story. And so I had you send me some stories, and I went to the library and I read stories. But that's how, even though I didn't end up using the stories, it gave me a deeper understanding about, you know, the life up there and the things that were of importance. And the way that you told me about learning throat singing when you were young, all of these things really touched me so much. And I really felt a responsibility to help to celebrate, really to help to celebrate.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm very happy too that it's on CD, because if a culture doesn't adapt to change, I think it has its challenges or struggle to survive. And indeed, we have gone through a lot of change over the past 50 years, for a few hundred years, but mainly for 50 years. Like, my mother was born in an igloo, and now we're talking on Zoom. So I think that it will allow younger people, hopefully, to be inspired, or to see if she can do it, I can do it too, kind of thing. I'm hoping that it's going to be an inspiration to our young people. And yes, throat singing is so important, because it's not just guttural sounds. There's a story behind throat singing. And understanding what throat singing went through to survive, gone through being criticized as being like satanic and so on, and it absolutely wasn't. It was a form of playing a game and imitating sounds and nature. And I think that we have to understand that in order to appreciate throat singing. And there was much for me to learn to appreciate the difficulties and the challenges in learning to play the instruments with a perfect note and everything. So I think that it was really a learning curve for me musically, and hopefully at the end it'll really inspire my fellow Inuit, or the younger people in particular, to see that if I can learn to throat sing and respect it, cherish it, to make sure and to ensure that it survives and that it doesn't go dormant again. I'm hoping that when younger people hear it, it'll inspire them musically, whether it's throat singing or classical music, because I think we need to have some music, surely, because it was another form of healing, or trying to, when you're really hungry, like my grandparents going through, let's say, famine, or the other Inuit people when they went through struggles to survive during the Spanish flu or during famine. For sure, they entertained themselves with throat singing and singing songs. And it was a form of entertaining themselves or healing or singing love songs to children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to have that. And I just think it needs to grow. And I hope that it'll allow younger people to appreciate it. Or if not, to say, hey, if she can do it, maybe I can do something too.
Yeah, and do you remember when we took it up north? And we traveled in a little plane together with the musicians and with the instruments in the belly of the plane. I mean, what were you thinking when we first performed it that first time up north?
Scared. I was scared about my fellow Inuit. Like,
no, because these are songs. The mosquito, sharpening the runners on the dog sled.
Yeah, exactly. They're so traditional,
and
yet I was able to incorporate it to a large, a huge musical style in front of my fellow people, and I was very nervous on both ends.
But all that
Nagano and to the audience.
I know, but you took his instruction really well. You did it really well, and your rhythms were fantastic. I mean, you were really every time you sing the songs, you put so much into it. There's just so much life in it, you know. But let me just say, from my point of view, you know, when we started, you know, the first movement is called Tundra. And I start with the percussionist playing rocks that I think he found up north. So he starts by playing rocks. And I thought, well, what's going to happen when they see a musician playing rocks in this short movement? And then the next one is Sharpening the Runners on the Dog Sled, which is the first one that you sing in. And so I start with the orchestra playing, and I have sleigh bells going, which is, you know, a sound that you sometimes hear connected with winter. And then and then you two sing. You come in and you sing, and it's so energetic, and I just love the propulsion of Sharpening the Runners up.
Yeah, I think they have to listen to it or come to the concert to. I wish we could have a concert again, but because of the pandemic, obviously we can't. But I hope that others will enjoy it and appreciate it when they listen to it. And
also in the Mosquito, which is a totally different. Well, there's the Snow Goose, and I remember one of the songs is the Snow Goose. And when we were up north, probably the first day, you and I were in a speedboat going up going along the river.
Mm-hmm.
And it's captured on the film. you looked up and you said, "Look, the snow goose." Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
The snow goose went right overhead. And so there it was in our piece. You can hear the snow goose, and I saw the snow goose. It was like wonderful. It was a wonderful moment.
And you caught a cod.
I did, and we ate
ate it.
a little tiny cod.
Yeah.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And in the Mosquito, when it was performed, that first time, I was wondering, well, I had known from you that because I knew you, that the Inuit have a sense of humor. I mean, that's probably one of the ways you get through the long winters, the long nights. And so when I put in that little funny bit, because the Mosquito is this beautiful song between the two of you that's kind of light and a bit playful, but at the end of the next movement, Bug Music, I decided to, have a little bit of fun. And I had the percussionist pretend to hit the mosquito. And do you remember what happened? The audience just burst out laughing because they got it. They got it. I felt like I had connected,
Yeah. And I like that too, because like when I started, when I knew I was going to start performing at the orchestra, I said, well, I better get a little bit acquainted with the music. So I went to a few concerts. And there's I was really impressed, especially with this woman who was playing like two pieces and turned it into one piece and so on. And every little movement that someone would make with a pamphlet at the concert hall, the person would be given like the evil eye, like, what are you doing here? You should be out of here if you can't appreciate them. So I was very...
Are you talking about in Place des Arts?
Yeah, I had to, it was a very disciplined form of attending.
I see.
And there's no interaction. You have to be very quiet and everything. So it was unfamiliar to me to really be very strict when you're listening to classical music. And so when we were able to kind of ease down, maybe take off the tie or something, you can breathe a little, there's some breathing space. So I really like that piece where we could like interact a little bit too.
Yeah, well, that was great. And then there's the cradle song where you don't sing. And, that I was thinking, I had seen a photo of an Inuit mother in her beautiful
regalia emotic.
Yeah,
in her emotic.
Yeah, and she was holding her baby who was swaddled, and it was a black and white photo from long ago, and she's looking so lovingly at her baby, and she has fur around her parka, and she's breathing warm air on her child to keep the baby warm. And I thought, a mother's love is so universal. And so I tried to capture that from that photo in Cradle Song. And it's that photo touched me really deeply. And then after that, we get into the river, which is really about the eternal life. And I when I heard you singing it on the demo recording, I thought about, all of the challenges that you face living in the North. And there's so many challenges. but the people I came to know through you to be so strong and so resilient, so full of life and laughter. So in the river, I tried to give a feeling, a sense of eternity, that life in the North is going to go on forever. And then in the last movement, Great Dog Sled Journey, keep going. I wanted it to be full of energy and power and resilience about, how through all of this, there is this wonderful sense of life and really resilience, and that it goes on because the people are so strong. So, even though you and I have discussed over all these many years, and even back then, the deprivation and the going out on the land hunting when the weather is bad, and these movements of mine are meant to be these little snapshots of life in the North. And, for me, the most fantastic thing was after the concerts, of course, the people are so, they were so enthusiastic. And I had many people come up and tell me, you really captured our life in the North. And I thought, oh, after all of this work, 6 months of working on this piece, and all of the worry of whether or not I would do honor, the people in the North, we had standing ovations in each of the performances. Do you remember that? And
that one in Switzerland was really strong. I think they'd never heard like throat singing ever before, and classical music combined together, and they were astonished, I think, to listen to that piece.
Yes, wasn't it amazing? Because it was so fantastic that you and Akinisie and I were there together, and the administration of that orchestra didn't know what to expect, because Alexander Mayer, the conductor, had told us when we had dinner together, he told us that the audience is a little bit conservative, and they would never have heard this before. So it was kind of exciting to see what would happen. And the piece was performed, and the audience was really enthusiastic.
Yeah.
You remember that? And then the administrator, the manager, said, "Oh, the Swiss audiences never react like that."
Yeah. So I was pretty impressed too. It was pretty exciting. Yeah, I really enjoyed it there.
And we introduced throat singing in the most unusual fashion, and they came to love it. And remember afterwards when we went to we had a little post-concert meal together with a couple of people from the audience, and they were so interested in the throat singing. It was so wonderful to be able to educate this, upstanding European tradition with this fantastic tradition of throat singing, that we taught them something.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm a big fan of teaching my culture, or sharing my stories or song to the larger society, in a sense, where like to non-Inuit people, because they have to know that we exist and we struggled to arrive up to here, to today. And I really like to share throat singing, tell stories, teach our history, our culture. And I think that was one of the really good ways to share that.
You know what, I remember at one point you said to me something that I really remembered. And I thought, I found it so rewarding hearing from you that you said about our project, our piece, two great traditions come together.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are on the stage.
Here I am on the stage performing together with the orchestra.
Different orchestras, different conductors, and
yeah, different conductors too.
Yeah, with Esprit and Alex conducting, and we went into the studio and did this fabulous recording with everything. We made sure everything was right. I said to Alex, how remarkable life is. First of all, that you were such a great teacher for me, that I got to learn about Inuit culture through you, and you told me wonderful stories, and you've shown me so many different things, and it made me, a bigger person. And without Take the Dog Sled, that sharing of our lives, when would we have ever met in life?
I know, huh? And you guys are so funny too. You, whoever's watching, you must absolutely get to know Alex and Alexina. They're so funny. They're so fun to hang out with. Lots of laughs there. I won't share with everybody, but you guys are great. Yeah.
Evie, thank you so much for sharing with me and with so many people your culture, and for being such a great performer in my Take the Dog Sled. It's thrilling every time I hear it. So thank you so much.
Sugo, nakopmitaw.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to say that although we couldn't be in person, I'm still happy that we could share this event with you. Now, the best way to support artists during this time, of course, is to buy their music. And so please, I encourage you, go out and buy this album, whether it's streaming or downloading from your favorite digital music provider or buying from the CMC shop. We encourage you to buy it and help support artists. Thanks so much and stay safe. Good night.